Hello everyone, I'm Silverraptor and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon replay commentary video on the map Another Day in Paradise. For today's game, I have bringing to you with me playing the wonderful British forces, ready to all take off here in their helicopters at the start, and I'm also going to be leaving the CV back and the fob and everything like that. Now, I'm playing with Ricky Stranger and Young Beyblade. And I met these two in a previous room. We were just sitting in, waiting for the game to start, filling up with people, and we just got to talking, and it was quite pleasant chat. We were all on opposite teams, and it wasn't any fixed match against each other. But then the room filled up, and we all sat, and we were just like, okay, is the game going to start? No, it never actually started. We sat there for like 2 minutes. There's nothing happening. And then we decided that the host was actually AFK in that room, and since I had strung up a nice conversation with them, I decided, hey, I'll host if you guys want to join my team. And I'm like, okay, sure. And that's exactly what started. So I'm going to start the game right now so everyone can start heading to their different positions. Ricky Stranger is going to be going here on the right. I believe he's playing a Eurocore deck. Yes, he is. Babs and Leopards. And Young Beyblade is going to be sending an American force over here on the left and taking over Hotel. And I am going to go down the center to Gulf and this canal, I guess, region. It's not an actual river. It's too straight to be a real river. So I think it's just like a bypass canal allow for shipping lanes and routes around this mountain. If you think about it geographically, then again, the game designer is just like, hey, let's just make this straight and put a river in here and all that. But anyways, enough with that boring. Let's see what's actually going on. My forces are actually the first to get there. I am separating the different amount of infantries I have. I'm bringing in. My goal is to secure this entire city-town region to prevent any flanks through this forested area from the enemy, as well as being able to secure this town here and then this forest. I want to say that I'm a little too conservative sometimes when I'm playing this game, especially on this map. As you can see, I'm dropping my infantry really, really far back. I probably could have gotten a little bit further ahead, maybe pushed them up into the forest quicker, but then again, I am a little, like I said, a little conservative. Over here on the left, Young Beyblade is going up against the anti-air forces of the Chinese, and they are successfully shooting down basically all the aircraft he has here. That is rather unfortunate. Up here in the front, I have some Lynx 20mm. They're a cheap helicopter that just has a nice autocannon on it, and I am basically sending them forward to scout out for me to see what possibly the enemy could have. So first I see that they do have some AA there at the start, and a lot of AA, and I saw, okay, here comes the massive convoy a lot later than I expected, but I knew that they were coming, and then just like that, I see 4 T-72Ms right off the start, so I know that they are heavily tank focused here in the center, and I am going to need to respond in kind if I am going to hold them off. Now, this is where my conservatism didn't actually bite me in the butt, because he's actually moving his T-72Ms into this forest, and then just kind of stops here, thinking I actually have a much larger force in Gulf, but as you can see, I have absolutely nothing here in the forest region. Ricky Stranger's awful watching my middle fight, and he says, heavy AP needed. And they were saying, like, why don't you go and bring ATGMs and try to take out that? Well, actually, my British deck is actually one of the few decks I have that doesn't actually have an ATGM squad in them, because I should lead them land 2s I do not like, but I told them that to like, but I had every confidence that I would be able to respond to this in kind. Over on the left, Young Beyblade is recovering from his disastrous helicopter shoot down on the left in Hotel. And in the right, Ricky Stranger, neglecting Charlie entirely, is just beginning to push all of his forces down this road and is just gearing up for a straight assault on Delta, using those extra 100 points that he did spend to capture Charlie to just do a quick assault, which he is starting right now. He's sending his VABs forward, which I know he's drawing the fire and just trying to waste as much ammunition as possible, especially on these Mi-17s with their massive rocket pods. A Gazelle Celtic sees them and is just opening up with his missiles. In the meanwhile, an Mi-29 comes and shoots down my TOW-2 that destroyed a tank over there. So the MiG-29 does manage to get away, but he is damaged. The SAS didn't fail to shoot him down, but there is a corpse of a tank in here somewhere, which I won't spend too much time hunting for because stuff's dying and you guys all love that stuff. So some Commandos Para unfortunately got caught out in the open, so they're going to be not long for this world, but the VABs also beginning to push forward and just basically drawing out all the fire that the enemy has. Some Chasseur 85 revealed that some Niebieski Buretti are coming forward, and they're just basically flanking these Chasseur 85s, but he brings up a Leopard Recon tank, as well as a Harpoon, both with pretty fast rate of fire, that are just going to be able to just open up onto these infantry squads, since none of the RPGs are able to turn towards these vehicles, since the light machine gun is tied up trying to kill this one last infantry squad. Now that the infantry squad does go down, they still can't get their RPGs up because they're stunned half the time, and when they do get up, they're so panicked, the RPGs keep missing, so Ricky's Ranger does manage to successfully save against that infantry flank. In the meanwhile, I have successfully made a line of AH-7 helicopters, so I have done a lot so far. And over here on the left, Young Beyblade, his forces spread out, waiting for an assault that's going to come from India. So right now, Ricky's one who's doing the most at the moment. A Puma 33H is going up against a BRDM-2. Helicopter with machine gun versus vehicle with machine gun. I'm going to bet on the vehicle with machine gun in winning that engagement because helicopters are flimsy things and are not meant to fly around with bullet holes in them. Though that got a pretty good shot and stunned him and panicked them all up. And then with a Tiger coming forward, if it can hit this vehicle, which it successfully does, while also firing some rocket pods here, he does manage to successfully clean up that flank there on the right. Now I see these 4 T-72Ms at the start, and in response to those tanks, I called quite a while back one Challenger 1 Mark III heavy tank vehicle. And the reason why I love this tank is because it's got 20 front armor, 21 AP power for just 145 points. The British tanks generally are really good heavy tanks, especially given the fact that a lot of them have really strong front armor. I believe like the Challenger 1 Mark II, which is roughly the same points as the M1A1, has about 19 AP power. Now the Fuchs Milan and Harpoon are beginning to open up on vehicles. Looks like they did successfully get something. Looks like a Sopel there on the right. My Challenger 1 Mark III does manage to get forward and is beginning to take off these T-72Ms and this recon squad. Now, the T-72Ms have 14 AP power, and the Challenger 1 has 20 front. So they need to get a lot closer in order to begin opening up. Now, at this point, I'm wondering why they're not shooting at him. But then I realized, oh wait, they can actually penetrate the front. So I throw my Challenger 1 into full reverse. And the reason why for doing that was so that I would have more time to be able to shoot at them. But they do manage to get a lucky shot in, and they actually jam my Challenger 1 Mark III's weapons. So I literally have to throw all the way back into full reverse and wait for my Gurkhas to begin opening up with their Gustavs. Unfortunately, when they reveal their position, the BMP-1s and the T-72Ms are just going to bring all sorts of hurt in that region until enough of them die that they actually lose sight of where they are. And I tried to retreat them back. I sent for some Lynx AH-7s. One does get shot down, but this one is out of range currently of those Polish Strelas. And the AH-7 does retreat back as it did manage to take out those BMP-1s, which were causing my Gurkhas a lot of trouble. As I have another Challenger 1 Mark III bringing up reinforcements to cover until this Challenger 1 Mark III's weapons are unjammed in a few seconds, like now. So a recon squad made the unfortunate mistake of shooting at it. It did take one out, but I had to quickly reverse it back into the forest, given that the stabilizer malfunctioned. I stop him for a moment to try to shoot, because he can't no longer shoot on the move to stabilizer malfunction. I see those T-72Ms coming. I let him take the shot, manages to take out something heavy in that forest before retreating him back, and then bringing up the other Challenger 1 Mark III, which they had jammed earlier, now ready to fight again to go up against the weaker T-72M, where it promptly falls as this other Challenger 1 Mark III is microwaved back forward in order to cover up the first one. So I am playing a lot of tank hopscotch, going back and forth and back and forth. SU-25K was trying to come and take out my Challenger once, but Young Beyblade with his wonderful F-15C Eagle shoots down that plane and thus saves my tanks from any further harassment in the future. And we are playing pretty cohesively. We do have sort of a kind of a almost standardized war game in the sense where we basically carved out our lines. Most players don't trespass into each other's lines. It's basically trying to push the other one out. And as you can see, both the red side and us are pretty evenly matched to be able to be in such a strict line and not really gaining or losing much ground. My Challenger 1 Mark III does get hit in the side and is nearly taken out, so I am retreating him back to a newly fresh supply Chinook that's hiding right behind his forward lines that the enemy can't see. And as I say that, the MiG-29 tries to open up on it. And for his troubles, SAS open up with their Stinger missiles, and that MiG-29 is shot down. The enemy is counterattacking with some Chinese forces, but some Gurkhas answer the cry as I quickly move up some SPS with their Bren highly accurate light machine gun, and just start beginning to shred apart these Chinese infantry, and basically telling them that was not a good idea to try to see what was in this town, because very, very bad things were happening. In the meanwhile, Ricky Stranger had some Volksman Jaeger 90s carve through and try to find this EV. Unfortunately, we're unable to do so. A J7H is coming forward with a napalm, or not a napalm, a huge, massive, high explosive round, but it is all of its explosion and everything. It did not actually kill either the Gurkhas or the SAS, so they can still be repaired and buffed up. And speaking of repaired and buffed up, the Chinook finally ran out of supply while healing up the first Challenger 1 Mark III as I move forward, and I'm going to try to get that Strela here on in the middle. I see that napalm is coming in, so I tell my Gurkhas to instantly disregard and just get out of there. A Challenger 1 Mark III gets hit again critically, and this time has an optics failure, so he cannot see jack shit. So he is now in full reverse, and I'm going to have to repair him up again, as a super powerful T-72 Moderna is coming forward to take place where those T-72Ms were. Now my Chinook was going to go and land into this fire, but then thought better of it, and decides to come over to this clearing over here in order to start repairing the SAS that managed to avoid the napalm, and then the Gurkhas when the fire has subsided, and they're able to resupply. Ricky Stranger is still resetting up his lines, bringing up some chasseurs and still trying to be able to force in on Delta. Over here on the left towards India, Young Beyblade is bringing an F-15D Eagle down onto this forest region, and it looks like he's already been heavily bombing this forest. As you can see, lots of missing trees are in these regions, so he must have saw something in this forest and has just decided to level the whole forest. It's the only way to make sure. Now my Chinook is finally repairing up my Gurkhas and my SAS. Now that the fire subsided, I'm going to move my Gurkhas back into the defensible position of this town here. Over here on the right, some commandos power have met swords to some enemy infantry. Looks like, I think it was my Puma that flew over and managed to find that, thus alerting to him that there were, in fact, some infantry behind his lines. A VAB got in front of the commandos para. Not a good thing to have happen, but the commandos para are a pretty decent recon squad as long as they stop moving, which they do. But unfortunately, two squads of Nebeski Bereti are going to be quite difficult for those commando paras to take on. I did bring forward an HQ, a CV for Charlie, since he was spending all of his points in the center, and I was just pretty much sitting on my hands at this point. Another push from the Chinese infantry, but the Gurkha squad, still holding strong after being rebuffed up by that Chinook, are able to force the Chinese infantry back. And then in the response, I'm moving my Puma around in order to engage and try to just take out the rest of these Chinese infantry. But unfortunately, I fly right over where they are and close to that Strela, which takes them right out. As Ricky's Rangers begin to push again with some Chasseurs, forming a nice sort of concave between these three, as well as having the Harpoon and Leopard just opening up here on the Nebeski. Another napalm flame, but I was too fast for him and got my Gurkhas and SAS successfully out of that region. My SBS are opening up with their light machine gun again, and with having a nice long range and a high accuracy, they're just going to be able to just completely tear apart those infantry. I move a Challenger 1 Mark III to try to engage the Moderna. Unfortunately, it's a Moderna, and I am forced to retreat back, especially with this Challenger 1 Mark III, especially with an Mi-24W waiting to take them out if they continue the fight. So I'm going to have to bring them back again for repairs, but the fact that their armor is so strong means that they are surviving these engagements, which is important in terms of points. The Chasseur 85s are almost breaking through with these Nebeski, but in comes the Mi-17s, as well as a huge bomb from a bomber that just flew over. This tank did survive, however, but the Mi-17s are, with their added machine gun and rocket pods, and these T-55 Meridias coming forward, are going to cut off these Chasseurs from any kind of support that they were receiving, and they're going to be stunned up. And with the Commando, the Nebeski Peretti, these Chasseurs are not actually going to succeed in their push into Delta. Now on the left, still not much has happened. More deforested regions have been going on, as young Beyblade is still trying to just throw up a line of defense to make sure the enemy is not trying to push forward at all. Whereas the Chasseurs are making a last stand in their glorious attempt to push forward. The T-55s have actually moved up directly into this village and just sort of to engage the Chasseurs directly. Kind of risky, but I guess if the Chasseurs are focused entirely on the infantry, that would work out quite well. Unfortunately, it looks like the Meridians have taken a lot of damage from these Chasseurs and their RPGs, but they do successfully take out the Chasseurs before those Meridians are actually dead and gone. So my Chinook has successfully also moved out of the way of that napalm strike. He's going to re-land and just give a little bit an extra Stinger missile to these SAS and Gurkhas, just basically unload the last little bit of supply before he's going to be sent back to the FOB in order to bring more supplies out to the front. Now I am bringing forward some Buffalo 4s with some Royal Marines. These are going to go and reinforce the Gurkhas, which I have up front here, and help secure this region here in the center. Artillery strike coming in from Ricky Caesar, and they successfully blow up that pesky little... Okay, that kind of scared me. This Polish Strela, which was definitely giving us a lot of trouble. So Bradley, they're moving forward to help cover the U.S. Marines, which are making a mad, desperate forward strike to take out this center village here. SMA, they're moving forward, and with their wonderful heat rounds, they're definitely taking out the infantry into that forested region. As I begin moving up my AH-7s just with the rocket pods to soften up and deal as much damage as they possibly can to the Moderna. Some really cheap, crappy AA units are moving forward. The AH-7 stuns them up while my Challenger 1 Mark III takes them out. And an SAS Stinger missile hits Mi-25. And again, successfully taken out, which no doubt they were coming in to try to take out my Challenger 1 Mark III. And I did lose some SAS there in the center. On the right, an Alouette recon helicopter was taken out by an Mi-29, so we are now effectively blind on the right. And I tell someone that we need to get recon back here in case they try to flank us. There it is, need new recon, and Ricky definitely responds pretty quickly. A BRDM actually managing to sneak behind the lines that I think I actually missed when I was playing this game. Bradley, they're moving forward, hitting with their ITOs. Even though what Bradley did take down, both missiles hit, and the tank that was guarding this region has been taken out, allowing young Beyblade to successfully take this town, albeit with very weakened and worn down men. Over here on the right, the MiG-29 takes out another Gazelle, looks like, helicopter. But it looks like they also took out a helicopter from the Red Force, so there's a massive fight being taken out here on the right. A bunch of airplanes are coming in with their bombs to bomb out this newly carved region that young Beyblade has brought forward with his forces. PVAT opening up on the J7H. Even with the help of the Chaparral, that JH7 does manage to successfully get out, as my Tornado F3 is really, really late to the party and decides to turn around and go home. So another Strzelza? I'm going to pronounce it finally. Yeah, I think it's Strzelza is coming forward with its anti-air missiles, so definitely going to try to keep my helicopters back. Over on the right, not a whole lot of good is happening with Ricky Stranger. The enemy is starting to push him back. He only has Commandos Para to defend, and they're only being replied by this huge, massive helicopter supply. So, a Lynx AH-7, it looks like, got shot down. A Moderna has moved forward, but the Challenger 1 Mark III, I have every confidence in their defensive missiles. Does get hit by the side, but doesn't do a whole lot because they do have quite a bit of side armor. And it's going to try to take out this Moderna, which is on 1 health, but with those ATGMs, I was too worried to risk it and overcommit, and so that Moderna does manage to get away, but that is going to be a lot of supply to try to repair that expensive tank. Artillery coming down on my heavily defended infantry stronghold. I'm going to need to bring more supply up to reinforce that. Incoming Caesar strikes coming back in on this infrared forces, and I'm not entirely sure why they left their AA out. They could have moved it here to try to screen the entire region. I think what he was trying to do was have unrestricted sight lines, but you can certainly do that on the edge of forest, so that was a little bit confusing. I did bring forward the Century and Avery to go and help these infantry, and he doesn't have a stabilizer, and I plumb forgot about him, but once he gets into a successful position, he definitely sees this BRDM, and he gets to that position that I told him to, and with a massive HE power of 8 and a machine gun to follow suit, he's going to definitely take out this BRDM, no problem. I guess he's going to fire one more round. Yes, he did, and a massive firework explosion, that is indeed dead. Now, some enemy infantry have managed to push successfully forward up to this forested region. The Tiger II is forced to back off because the Tiger II actually doesn't have any weapon that is designed to engage vehicles or infantry up close, so he has to back off. Cluster munition is landing down on top of my forces here. I am definitely worried that the Challenger 1 Mark III with his 1 health left is going to lose this, but the one thing I love about these challenges is they've got 4 top armor, which is incredibly strong against cluster munition and top bombs and anything that engages top armor. They're definitely able to survive airstrikes. No problem. So the Rangers and Bradleys have moved forward to try to stop this counter push of Luendi Chinese forces from Paul, the enemy force. In the center, I see an MITRO with his exceptional recon is trying to spot out for anything that might try to come forward. As my SAS died, my Gurkhas are still badly damaged at relay. So as you can see, this has definitely been a stalemate match. Not much has really been happening. Probably young Beyblade is the most interesting right now as he is trying to push forward. MI8 AGS with his Blast Rangerman squad, who is dual wielding a M16 and an M240D. And with the backup from the M8 AGS, he managed to successfully secure that town, thus planting the flag of USA in that region. So now comes the artillery exchange roar, where both sides is basically trying to guess where the other side has hid their troops and is trying to take them out. I sent my Puma once forward because at this point they were not really doing anything, and given that they artillery this region, I know they had recon here, and I find them some Yukyong Day, a 2-man squad, and I just tell my Puma, just open up with your machine gun, just try to kill that squad if you can before they get away, and they successfully manage to get the final shot before they're shot down by the Strzelza. Puma 1 is also shot down by some regular small arms fire, but they successfully got rid of the recon, which is all I could have asked. A Challenger 2 moves forward and seeing that there's ATGM squads coming in that region, fires one shot and decides to turn that ATGM squad into an anti-air missile as it flew, as these are flying many kilometers up into the air. So if you want to turn an ATGM into anti-air, just have a Challenger 2 shoot at it. Over here on the left, it looks like Young Beyblade is actually making some decent ground. It's actually pushed forward to the halfway point between the two sectors. Artillery is coming down on top of where these helicopters are, and knowing that they know where they are currently, I am deciding to back up. Knowing full well that without any recon, I'll be able to bring them back later and figure out what to do with them. So far, the Challenger 1 Mark IIIs are successfully surviving. Now, I position my two Challenger 1 Mark IIIs because they do have a heavy shell, and they're going to try to provide cover for the Challenger 2, but unfortunately, the Challenger 2 took a huge shot to the side, and I decide it's time to reverse and bring him back. But at the same time, with a ZTQ over here on the left and an Mi-24W, the Challenger 2 does actually get down from a nice flank from all sides, could not keep that massive front armor in front of where it was firing from, and the Mi-2W also providing not enough cover from that. A Challenger 1 Mark III takes a front shot from an ATGM squad and needs to be back up. Cluster munition is being brought down on top of these infantry squad, which does not work because infantry is immune to AP damage and cluster is just non-stop AP. Now, if it was real life, yes, those men should have been died in the bucket loads, but this is Wargame Red Dragon, and not everything has to make realism sense. Now on the left, Hempt is rebuffing up some M1A1s and some Bradleys, and these definitely lock down this left region, so we can kind of stop worrying about there. Over here on the right, Ricky has successfully set up finally a front line. The Bisky Beretti have engaged some chasseurs, and well, he's going to have to deal with that. Unfortunately, the Bisky Beretti are shock trained, and these turns are only just regular infantry. So in terms of experience, the Besky are definitely going to have the advantage. Though if they're backed up by these VABs with the Browning machine guns, they might be able to stand a chance. The VABs are beginning to open up. And the Besky are finally being stunned out and not able to... Well, they are doing quite a lot of damage to that chasseur, but they do get stunned in the end, and Ricky smartly retreats its last survivor and saves the chasseur squad. Now finally, even though I had SAS, I decided I need more AA, and AA with very, very good front armor, so I'm bringing up some Challenger marksmen. First order of task, take out that recon helicopter. Now unfortunately, he went into this forest and lost line of sight, and I'm like, oh, whoops, sorry, reverse back, finish what you were doing, now go back to that forest. Moderna's moving forward, gets a huge side shot from the Challenger 1 Mark III. I'm not really as fearful from this because 23 front armor and 20 front armor here. This Challenger 1 was going to be able to stand up against the Moderna, and that Moderna looks away again on 1 health. Puma 1 is coming forward and is trying to help out, assisting Ricky Stranger's weakening forces with the Puma HC1. With the Puma spying out with his BRDM2, this gets successfully taken out by the Chasseur squad as the MiG-29 comes to try to take out another helicopter. Also shoots down my Tornado, but in revenge, finally, a Roland 3 does manage to finally take out the job. But that was definitely a very deadly aircraft air superiority strike that came in. Paul's bringing forward another bomber, probably headed for this town region. No, it's going to turn around and head back where it came from. Oh, it's a air superiority fighter. So I have brought back my Chinooks, this time spread out, and they are buffing up the Challenger 1 Mark III that got into a tangle with those ATGM squads earlier. A Jaguar A goes really deep into enemy lines and brings out all the air superiority that the enemy has, and tells me I should not bring in any air superiority fighters in the future. More Debesky are going to be pushed up against these chasseurs, but being distracted by the chasseur, my Puma HC1 decides to open up its machine gun, providing perfect vantage points to provide covering fire. So, a lot of people underestimate the power of the machine guns on top of these vehicles. They do definitely still stun out and keep the Debesky Beretti from moving forward. And the best part is that they're actually stunning and panicking and actually killing them, allowing the rest of his vehicles and forces to move up and just, with a hail of Browning machine gun bullets, take out these Marine squads from the Polish side in eventual time frame. It's going to take a while, but they're definitely doing their job. As you can see, I'm running out of machine gun ammunition because it's just been constantly firing upon these Marine squads here in the center, and actually manages to kill a squad with the help of Ricky Stranger's VAB and 5-point truck of death here on the right. And I think it kind of reminds me just like a kill though, with where these infantry squads are here. Just the amount of bullets just flying back and forth, and they're just taking off left and right. It's just turning into a massacre. I also tell Ricky, why do you have a supply helicopter in range of the enemy to capture? Get that out of there. But we've managed to do so much damage, I don't think it really ultimately matters. I tried to bring in Harrier GR3 to rocket pod, but unfortunately that mountain covered them well enough that it wasn't able to actually get the rocket pod out. And it flew in where all the AA was and decides to turn, dive, straight into the water. Barely. So my Puma HC-1 actually ran out of ammo, and I'm really weird because I'm pretty sure I'm the only person in Wargame Red Dragon that will take a transport helicopter out of machine gun ammunition, fly all the way back to the FOB to reload its machine gun. A transport helicopter. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that does that in Wargame, but I'm weird and proud of it. Okay, so a JH-7 is coming forward with a TV guidance trying to take on a tank. Seeing this, my Challenger 1 Mark III is reversing up, but does take a whack to the face, but with the Challenger 1 Mark III's massive front armor, it does survive that, but it just means that these guys need to go all the way back and resupply with this Chinook. I place a Challenger 2 on this ridge line here, ready to help flank in case the enemy does a massive push. Over here on the left, artillery comes where my Challenger 1 and Challenger Marksman were. Seeing that artillery, I am probably going to reverse my Challenger 1 Mark III back so that it can be repaired with the Chinook properly. Over here on the right, an Alouette, but Ricky Stranger flies all the way around and manages to spot that, oh my god, the enemy has a bunch of helicopters here. Had a bunch of helicopters here as a direct score artillery round takes one of them out. Now another one, which is flying so dangerously low to the ground, is just a sitting duck, ready for the artillery to come forward. Now over here on the left side, it seems like it's a staring contest. Young Beyblade is staring down Paul's forces, and not a whole lot is happening at the moment. I'm pretty sure there's some micromanaging and repositioning, but so far nothing happening in the center. Another push from the Luzu Andy gets shut down by the fact that I've backed up my infantry squad with a Lynx AH-7. Artillery is coming down on these Flak Panzer Gepard A1s, which means that there is more recon here in this right region, and I am pretty sure I'm going to realize that shortly in this game. I'm bringing forward another Challenger Marksman because I believe one did get taken out, and more is always the merrier, especially when it comes to radar AA that can take seed to the face and still survive, but not when it gets peppered to the side from an ATGM squad. Weasel Toe 2 is also being caught out, so not the best place to hide vehicles is out in the open. I've probably heard something over there, nothing overall happening, and it's just turned into another line of skirmish stalemate again in this fight as I'm sending my Chinook back for resupply in order to bring it back to the front lines again. Only to probably pass by a Puma HC-1. So I'm sending my Puma HC-1 probably over here to just kind of assist with machine gun fire and help young Beyblade. Looks like he might be starting to try to push forward. Oh wow, these bad tank faggots have took a direct shot to the M1A1 Abrams and forcing him to retreat back. But as you can see, a lot of micro with the tanks in this game, pulling them back when they've taken quite a bit of damage, which is definitely a mark of a good player, to just try to keep your troops as alive as possible. Over here on the right, some Kamadozi have been spotted out alerting Ricky Stranger that he needs to move his infantry squad to intercept and keep them back. Now, T-71 Wilks are moving forward. These are much heavier than the T-72Ms, which I fought earlier. And these tanks are going to be my next opponents on the front line. And I'm still worried about that Moderna, which is probably why I haven't exactly pushed forward yet. But I did notice that I let the enemy at go for a long time. So I decided I'm going to bring forward some command infantry and just neutralize Gulf, because there's no point of them having a 4-point lead in this game. So again, not a whole lot's happening. There's some aircraft that are flying over here on the right with Paul before they leave line of sight. And Ricky Strange just let me know that there's some big tanks coming over here in the center. Now, I know that there's recon here, so I send my Lynx AH-1s to see where they are. And they provide line of sight for my AH-7s to successfully take out that recon squad. Now, knowing that the recon squad was there, they brought in artillery, seeing that this was, in fact, a command vehicle. But I was so fast on it, command infantry did manage to successfully get forward into the forested region. BTR-60P is probably going to shoot down that Lynx AH-1. Yes, it does. But that is perfectly fine. The Commandosi are engaging with chasseurs, and even though Commandosi are elite infantry, the amount of firepower that Ricky Strange is bringing to bear on them is forcing them to retreat from whence they came. More artillery has been coming in. I think the enemy was trying to guess where I was going to put my infantry squad. Now, I think I told us about a different game of moving infantry CVs around a lot. Even though he's in the sector, I know that since he was so recent into that sector, the enemy could probably guess where he could be by that time. So I purposely had him run around in circles for a little bit, basically drawing extra time and making it harder for the enemy to realize that where exactly he could be. In the time that elapsed in the travel time that the HQ section can move at 20 kilometers an hour, the radius from, instead of this tiny little circle right here, given the amount of time before the sector was neutralized, actually extended to roughly about this size, too wide for precision artillery to actually strike forward. Now, mortars do actually see that the Saxon had dropped off the special boat squad and decided to just mortar it to all hell. But this SPS squad will progressively provide recon over here on the left and let us alert me to any kind of forces that might be pushing forward as I bring a Chinook to finally fully repair the Challenger ones over in that area. So the Churs have managed to go up against a fresh batch of Commandosi. A huge bomb is going to do quite a bit of damage against that Milan, and only these chasseurs are left against Commandosi. It's not going to work out well for the chasseurs, especially backed up with Commandosi backed up by these BMP-1s. So the enemy is doing definitely a good job of beating back all of Ricky's counter pushes, but then again, they are investing a lot of points in that region, and they haven't exactly made up a whole lot of ground either. Now the artillery squad has come in, and the special post squad has to move back away from that fire, but they're able to spot out where the ZTZ is, and thus alert us to our presence there on the left. Over here on the right, LVTP is pushing forward with his grenade launcher and Browning machine gun, stunning up successfully that Liege 190 and taking them out, thus proving that they are one of the most deadliest infantry killers of all of the APCs. And as you can see, I have sat back yet again. I led a defensive line. I do know what's in this forest here. There is a Moderna and 3 heavy tanks, and I am not going to move forward until I am for sure know that I would win that engagement. But seeing that the enemy is moving the tank forward, I do move a Challenger 1 Mark III to the edge of the forest to see if I can try to snipe these tanks, but unfortunately the leftover fire in the forest blocks this Challenger 1's line of sight from being able to hit it, and I'm unfortunate to be able to get those Chinese forces. So the Fallschirmjäger 1 is retreating. Kudos for Ricky for saving one man and preventing points from going to the enemy. Milan F3 with the Challenger 1 Mark III does take out an APC squad, but that alerted the enemy to tank that there's a lot of anti-tank power here, and he retreats it back. Knowing that they have a lot of artillery and how they like to use it, the moment that Challenger 1 Mark III attacked, I did in fact immediately back them up further to the forested region away from where a possible attack or artillery strike could come in, but instead they decided to artillery where my Challenger 2 is. not the best of ideas. Chasseur goes up against 4 squads of Moshutsen, and as with anyone expected, the Moshutsen win. Machine gun fire is opening up against taking out the helicopter successfully before harpoons fire point blank range to take out the T-55, and they're taking out these, the best keeper ready. And oh my goodness, Nuwas have driven really too far ahead, and they basically made themselves sitting duck for harpoons to just start opening up and destroying. The best keeper ready are coming forward and successfully saving one of those Nuwa squads with their massive RPGs. They're just trying to take out these Harpoon 7s, but the Caesar is bringing in more artillery as well as some bombers bringing in the strike here into the center, and thus is successfully wiping out all the forces that Ricky had here in the center of this forested region. In the meanwhile, my Challenger 1 sees that there's an Mi-24W that was flying by and decides to shoot it down out of the sky. Ricky Stranger is driving fab through napalm, not the smartest of idea. And now some helicopters coming forward to try to find a CV in this area. I actually didn't catch this in the game, but they're trying to look for where my CV is. I actually have my warrior sneaky hidden here, and even if they did find them, he actually has an autocannon, which is able to successfully take out those helicopters, which he almost opened fire on their position. The Mi-8T does actually see where Ricky Stranger's Caesar is, but the game actually ended. Yes. Aww. We didn't actually get to see any more of the game because we actually won with 6,000 points as we successfully engaged in the center of that region. And I actually think I missed some epic fights there in the center at the end. I know that those T-72 Wilkes were pushing forward, but let's go and look at the kill list. As you can see, I actually did pretty good, sitting back and drinking British tea all the time. I had 22,000 kills with only a 1490 loss, so pretty decent. Challenger 1s are what really shined this match, taking out 4 T-72Ms, T-75s, Nuwas, BTR-60P. This one taking out another couple of tanks, as well as a bunch of other stuff. SAS shooting down all the planes and helicopters. Centurion Avery, Challenger 2, Challenger Marksman, shooting down a number of Mi-24Ws. Pretty decent anti-tank helicopters, but not very decent against marksmen. Challenger 2, yes, actually taking out T-72S, successfully taking out the Moderna and the 3 Wilkes that were pushing forward. So, in the end, pretty good end to the game there. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this Wargame Red Dragon replay commentary. I might actually put up that replay video in the end, so please stick to the end of the video, and I will just stack that on to the end of where the actual front lines where my Challenger 2 engages the enemy forces that come forward. And I do hope you all like this. Please do like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this Wargame Red Dragon video, and I'll see you all in the next one.